Hello and welcome to Helena Civic Television, our studio location here in Helena. This is a special edition of Global Civics series, and with me today are three very special guests from Boise, Idaho, but they represent the Republic of Mexico. Mr. Consul General, I want to say your name slowly, Celso Delgado Ramirez. Welcome to Helena.
Muchas gracias. Buenas tardes, Montana, y buenas tardes por recibirnos en tu programa. Thank you very much for receiving us.
And thank you for addressing us in Spanish a little bit, because the more we hear, the better. we will all learn sooner or later.
Yes.
And with you today is your spouse, but she also is officially responsible for special events organized by the Consulate. So Maria Eugenia,
Yes, that's
welcome
right.
to you. And
Thank you.
to my right is a fellow in charge in the security area for the Consulate in
Yes.
Boise, Constantino.
Victor Constantino.
Victor Constantino, and welcome to you.
Thank you, thank you.
So we're happy you're here. This is your first time in Montana. We had the pleasure of hosting your predecessor a few times in years past. We know you have a vast territory under your jurisdiction as Consul General. So let's start with a brief description of the area that you serve and the services that you provide to Mexican nationals and other people of Hispanic descent.
Wonderful, especially because thanks to my predecessor that today is working in McAllen, I am here. The President Peña Nieto sent me to Idaho and Montana, a little Oregon and Nevada, to work, to be next to the people that born here and next to the people that became from Mexico and other countries of Latin America that are working, studying, and living in Montana and Idaho. I am diplomat and I politician too. I was working in Montreal 7 winters. I was working too in Cuba. And I propose congratulations to Cuba and United States for giving his best effort to establish relation diplomatics. Congratulations.
Yes, well,
All Latin America is happy with this news.
I would say a lot of Americans, myself included, are also very happy with this new relationship, sort of a freshening, repairing of a relationship. And today, I look forward to the time when I can go to Cuba and not have to sneak through Mexico to get there.
But you
I want to come to Mexico anyway. It deserves its own trip.
You can be in Mexico all the time, directly or indirectly.
Yeah.
It's your second home.
Yeah, thank you.
It's why I'm here. Because for us, the president told me, go and work. Be next to the people of Montana, next to the people of Idaho. Are two states very important for us. You know that milk, dairy, and from the farm of Montana and Idaho, we are eating in Mexico.
Uh-huh.
You are the most important export of farm and dairy to us. 5 liters of milk that we drank in Mexico became from you. The bread, the semola, the trigo, the corn became from you. And some parts of the oil became from Montana too.
Yeah.
Montana is, for us, the 4 membership of our import-export.
Fourth ranking
Yes.
source of supply.
Yes, if I make a list of more important exporters to Mexico are, of course, United States in the first time. Second time, China, Japan, and Europe, Canada.
Yeah.
And in fourth, as a country, Montana.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to hear you talk about the composition of our exports, because I can look at statistics that show the value of our exports to Mexico, But it's not broken down very easily. I'm sure the data exists somewhere. But okay, so we send you dairy and wheat products and maybe some energy products.
Chemical products.
And in receipt, we get vegetables and fruits all winter long,
Okay.
which we value greatly.
Because are delicious if they come from Mexico.
Of course.
But you export us chemical products.
Yeah, that's
that
our
are very
top
important,
rated
yes.
export commodity, chemicals. It's counterintuitive to a lot of people in an agricultural state that we're actually producing industrial products and sending them abroad.
And thanks to you, my brother and sister can send money every weekend or every month to his family, to their family that is living in Mexico. They are working here. They are working in Idaho. And when they receive his wage, they send some part of his wage to Mexico. This is good for both countries.
Yeah.
And they send best wishes from here. This is why many people want to know where is Montana. And Montana is the paradise, but need to be here. You have to open the doors.
Yeah.
By papers or without papers. You have to open the doors, the young people, the artists, the journalists, the workers, the owners, ladies and men, to know this wonderful state, your landscape, your people, your amicable people, and of course, your ancient culture, the Indian people, the original people from these areas. I am the consul, of course. I am proud of being the consul. My vast territory is Montana, Idaho, Oregon, and Nevada. In North America, we are Mexicans that have the more consulates in all the country. We have 50 consulates.
One for each state.
Yes. Used to be some countries has 8, 7, 5, or maybe 12, but we have 50. To be next to our brother and sister and next to your government, your federal government, your local government, and the county government.
Yeah.
And next to the universities, to the schools, to chambers, next to the church, the iglesias, Christianity, Catholic, any church, are near to my brother and sister. They receive the families. And is why the consul has to be next to the government to improve our wonderful relations in policy terms, and next to my brother and sister to improve, to support, to obtain perhaps becas, scholarships, best place without discrimination, best wage, well paid, security social, and good opportunities to occupy any place in the farmer or in the factory or in the university. You know, we have one university that has 4 Nobel Prize.
Really?
Really? In ecology, for the peace, and literature.
Well, that's fantastic. It shouldn't be a surprise, actually. I know Mexico has a tremendous literary culture.
Yes.
And those of us fortunate to ingest some of that enjoy it greatly. Let's back up just for a moment, and then we'll bring you into the conversation as well. But I know that there's many more Mexican people working in Idaho than in Montana. And yet there are people in Montana.
It's growing.
Yeah, it's growing. There's been a sizable number in the Billings area, an agricultural zone surrounding our largest city. Plus, in the Flathead Valley, there's migratory workers who harvest fruits and things like that. But tell me a little bit more about the people, the brothers and sisters that you do serve in our state. How would you characterize them today, in number and in what they're doing?
Today is changing. We have old people here, maybe with 3 generations, and we had new people. The old people is thinking to return to Mexico all the time. The young people was born here, are Mexicans and are American, and they would like to study, would like to work in anything, perhaps in this space exterior, because we have one member of the team in the NASA that was working in the space exterior, and they would like to be in the bunker, in the university, in the newspaper, in the government, in the Congress, because they can vote, and they can vote Republicans or Democrats, anyway. And they would like to be here in better condition, without discrimination, without exploitation, like sisters and brothers do, because we are Americans. Americans start in Alaska, in Canada, and end until Tierra del Fuego, hasta Magallanes stretch. It's why there are other people that became to make some money to send to his house because they have perhaps bad condition in Mexico, and they would like better condition because here you pay better to the people than in Mexico. I know we have economic problems today, but we can find solution. We have solution, but the people became here. Why? Because it's the history, long history that the people became to the United States to work, and after return to Mexico. They have his land in Mexico. They have his farm in Mexico. The people that is working in the farmer here, ejidatarios, campesinos, not are only workers. In Mexico, they are owners of his land.
Right.
And they seen fruits, vegetables, and of course, corns and beans. And during the seasons, became here to work here, combine the seasons, because in agriculture, the important is the seasons.
Right.
And of course, the rain and the land.
And we could use more of that. Well, this is very informative. I mean, I think, generally speaking, people will have the impression that migratory workers are poorer rather than rich with family, with land, with a community to go back to.
Very important people, noble people, with courage, valiente.
I hear you. And it's very moving to hear you describe these people in our midst. So we don't want to steal.
We wish to have all my people in my land. I would like to. All the Mexicans are in Mexico in better condition. The president says the following: the people have to be in Mexico, working, studying, living, all together, but winning more money, earning more money.
Well, the trade that we've talked just briefly about is going to facilitate further integration of our economies. Theory and practice both demonstrate that the more we integrate our economies, the better off everyone will be.
Well,
there won't be such a need for migration patterns. There will be a choice, not a necessity, to choose to come and go.
A few. Today, we have more better condition after signing the NAFTA 20 years ago.
Yeah.
The economic conditions are better. The trade is better. Was an agreement between goods, bienes y servicios, goods and services. But where is the people? Is the next chapter.
Right.
The people.
Labor mobility.
Yes.
Yes. Well, we could talk about this for a very long time, I know already. But we have a short time today in our studio, so we're going to shift gears a little bit and address your spouse, who also works
Of
Very
course.
hard. Tell us just a little bit, Maria,
Yes.
about some special event that you have organized or are planning to organize to get a
Yes.
better picture of how you work together.
Of course. Thank you very much. In September, the 16th of September, we celebrate our independence in Mexico. And we prepare different activities during the month. And one that I want to remember is a parade with more or less 30 dresses, Mexican dresses, of different parts or towns of our republic.
Uh-huh.
Each state we have 32 states, and in each one there are a lot of groups, ethnic groups. They speak different languages, and the culture is different, the dresses are different, the food is different, the traditions are different. But it's Mexico. Mexico is great because all these variety of cultures. And it was a very nice parade with all these colored dresses, and they were surprised. Of course, they are not all the dresses we have in Mexico.
No.
We have 602 ethnic groups in our country, and the government tried to preserve the traditions of those groups because those are our roots. So we want to continue being Mexico. We have mixed with the Spanish and many persons who have come from other countries, but the main roof is the Mexican, and we are proud of that. To become from cultures so important as the Olmeca, as the Maya. We come from the Totonacas, the Chichimecas, the Aztecas, los Mixtecas. All those groups that live in Mesoamerica, which is some countries of the north of Central America and many states, some states of the north of Mexico. In the 15th and 17th century before Christ, they exist a lot of groups, and they interchange the discoverment, the knowledge, and that's how they became to be a very great civilization as the Olmecas or as the Mayas. They discovered the zero, by example, the Mayas, they discovered the zero, and they had 2 calendars. And now we are going to prepare some altar de muertos, which is a very, very big table, because in Mexico they remember the persons who have died, but that becomes from the pre-Hispanic groups.
Yeah.
It's not new. The Halloween has not entered to our country totally. Some persons practice that, but ours is other thing. And if you review the history, pre-Hispanic history, you can discover that those practices became from then. And then we will prepare a very nice altar de muertos, and we will put food and flowers and calaveritas, which is the cráneos, I don't know, and in sugar and many things you will see.
Yeah.
You are cordially invited. And I would like to say hello to all the women and women which they live here in Montana, the women that are North Americans and that has ancestors from other countries, and overall to the Latin Americans. In Latin American, from Mexico to down the continent, we call Latinoamericanos. I was surprised when I arrived here and they call us Hispanoamericanos. I started to study why, and I knew why, but I am not going to speak about that. But I want to say hello to the Mexicans, to the Latin Americans women, and to give them thanks because they make a very great sacrifice for work here. I have spoke about with several of them, and I know how they suffer. Some of them have lived their children in Mexico, and they work hard here for send them money, or live with the grandparents, which are old. And that is very hard for a mother. And also to the mans that work so hard. I am proud because I know my race, the persons who come from Mexico, are very strong, and that's why they have success here in United States, because they contract them because they are strong, they are resistant, they are honest. I are, pardon me?
Resilient.
Yeah.
Resilient. And I am very glad, but I am sad because in my country, the government and the conditions are not optimal for giving them, as the consul said, a good work, a good salary. They, as he said, they would like to live in our country because our country is marvelous, beautiful, extraordinary. But they have to make a very great sacrifice to come here for get money.
Yeah. Well, thank you. You've said an awful lot in a short period of time. Unfortunately, we've almost exhausted the time allotted for our program. However, thank you for reminding us that Mexico is a federal country. It has states like our country and like Canada. The North American community is made up of federal countries, and that's an important fact that enables us to work closely together and understand our systems better. Thank you for saying hello to all the Latin American women and men in this area. I would love to witness these celebrations you're discussing and talking about. I mean, Halloween's fun here, but it's nothing. There's not the richness of tradition. It doesn't go very deep. You know, it happens. There's a lot of sweets, and it's over. So all of these things sound marvelous. And I want to move on just very briefly to your security detail here, so not to leave him out of the conversation. So just briefly, tell us what your job is like and how you came to be associated with the consulate in Boise.
Sure. Thank you. Well, and not also of the protection area, but we give many services like passports, Mexican passports, and IDs. It calls in Spanish matrícula consular. We give to our connationals all these services, and in the area that I work, there are so many things, but as I remember, can be visits to our connationals, to the inmates in prisons.
Right.
Yeah, we expect of them or the prison that has more humanity for them. Okay, just to be in good conditions.
Yeah.
And well, we give many documents just to help them, and I don't know which other one, maybe to transport the Mexican deceased connationals, and well, maybe a few protection passports who the people who doesn't have maybe an ID or the birth certificates, and well, in resume.
So it sounds as if you're providing a lot of the documentation that is required in our society, and so there's so much talk of undocumented workers. Well, there are documents, and and you're there to provide them.
Sure.
So to smooth everything out, make sure social relations are good, and thanks again for reminding us of visitation to prisons. That's something that all consular officials from any country have to do.
Yeah, it's very important.
And that's what Americans do abroad too, thank heavens. So we this has gone way too fast. I do want to give the consul the last word on the program, and that is by just asking you a question. And you can chime in if you like, but what is the most important message you would like to convey to Montanans? Because this program is viewed all over the state. So I know you're coming back. We'll see you again, all of you, I hope.
Thank you.
But for now, what's the number one message you'd like to send to Montanans?
I can tell to the people from Montana, to the government, to his people, that it's time to open the paradise. You have to open Montana. We need Montana open to know his wonderful landscapes, his amazing rivers and mountains and people. You have to open your schools, your university to all the people, not only Mexico, no, to all the people. You have to avoid missions to all the countries, especially the countries of Pacifico, become TPP, for example, to send mission of honors of professors or journalists to get news about Montana, perhaps to make very good business, to buy at good prices and to sell at good prices. You have to be open your schools to make tourism and to feed tourists, to receive tourists and to make tourism. You have to open your heart. Your heart is big, generous, historical, and historically you are and we are together brother and sister. And we have to open the culture, the economy, and of course, the life. We can to live together with respect between one another, among the uns and the other. Respect our human rights, of course, our borders, of course, our law, of course. This is our message. To my compatriotas, to send that you are not alone. Mexicanos, ustedes no están solos. El presidente me ha enviado para decirles que el consulado es parte de su familia, que cuenten con él, que los extrañamos, que los queremos mucho, que los añoramos y les damos las gracias por sus sacrificios y por lo que le envían a sus familias, a sus padres, a sus sobrinos, a sus ahijados. Gracias, paisanos. Gracias, paisanas. Gracias a todos. Thank you very much.
Gracias to you too. And with that, we'll wrap the program. Thank you so much for watching. Join us again for Global Civics, and hopefully we'll have this trio back in our studio in the not distant future.